Bolt fam, something's moving behind the scenes, and you can feel it. Today has that hand hovering over the light switch vibe, and nobody knows when it's actually going to click. Something is happening behind the curtain that can steer the entire offense without a single snap being played. There's a contract situation turning into a legit headache, and it could free up cap space in a way that's not just numbers on a screen. There's a big-time target being floated that would have SoFi Stadium humming, but there's drama attached, and Harbaugh isn't exactly the let's do drama type. And then there's the hunt for the next defensive mind, because if you nail that hire, it shapes what 2026 is going to feel like. Which part of that has you most on edge? From the outside, the Mike McDaniel situation feels like it already crossed the finish line. Earlier in the week, the chatter was that it's basically wrapped up. Then you go looking for the announcement, you're waiting for that Harbaugh grin, the yeah, we did it moment, and it's nothing, just quiet. And quiet like this doesn't feel accidental. It feels timed, like there's a countdown running that we're not allowed to see. And if you're Bolt fam, you can feel exactly why that's unsettling. Because the holdup isn't red tape. It's not some boring paperwork is taking longer excuse. The real reason is McDaniel is still chasing a head coaching job. His name has been tied to openings like the Bills, the Browns, and the Raiders. He backed out of an in-person with Buffalo on Friday. He also stepped away from Cleveland's process earlier this week. But the Vegas connection is still sitting there, and that's the part that can mess with your timeline. Think about what that means. While that door stays cracked, the Chargers are stuck in a holding pattern. And in the NFL, waiting isn't neutral. It costs you. The calendar keeps moving. Staff choices, scheme installs, building chemistry, all of it stacks day by day. Every day without a final answer is one less day shaping what the Justin Herbert offense is supposed to be. And this is where Harbaugh is playing it like a chessboard. He's not losing McDaniel, he's placing a bet. The understanding is straightforward. If McDaniel doesn't land a head coaching job, he's the Chargers offensive coordinator. But every bet comes with insurance, and you can tell the insurance is already sitting in the lobby. Clint Kubiak and Davis Webb are right there as real options. Two different directions, two different vibes, but they share one huge advantage. You can hire them, announce it, and start building tomorrow. So yeah, I get why the fan base is split right down the middle. Is it worth waiting on McDaniel? Because if he ends up in powder blue, the vision is clear, a modern offense, motion, mismatches, Herbert operating in rhythm. Not that dreaded feeling where third and medium somehow becomes third and long, and now you're just hoping something breaks your way. But if he slips out at the last second, you've burned precious time, and you're pivoting to an alternative plan that might be strong, or might be more like hold your breath and hope it holds together. And while everyone is locked onto that offensive suspense, there's another storm building in the background. The defense is now without Jesse Minter, and the next defensive coordinator can't just keep the machine running at the same speed. He has to push it forward. The way the Chargers are approaching this tells you there's more urgency here than people want to admit, because not every splash signing works, even when it makes sense on paper. Mekhi Becton is a perfect example of how the league can humble you fast. When he arrived, the conversation was all career reboot, rare physical tools, new environment, new player. And then the season happened. The field doesn't care about the story you want to tell. He started, he played, and before long, he turned into a pressure point, literally. Interior leaks, Herbert speeding up the clock in his head, drives that had life suddenly dying before they even got to midfield. It wasn't one ugly rep and then a bounce back. It became a pattern. And when guard play becomes a pattern, the whole offense feels it. It's not an accident so many third downs felt like climbing a wall. It's not an accident Herbert spent the year playing like the pocket could cave in at any moment. Now, quick pause, because this next part is exactly the kind of thing that splits a fan base in 5 seconds. The whisper that's been circulating is that Becton's exit is already being treated as the likely outcome. The internal evaluation is harsh, but it's pretty simple. After looking like he'd turned a corner in Philadelphia, he fell back into the old habits. Inconsistent technique, bad angles, trouble with speed. And when that keeps showing up week after week, the conclusion starts to feel inevitable. This is where the strategy actually matters. Moving on from Becton isn't just admitting the signing didn't hit. It's opening a lane. It's $10 million back on the books with minimal dead money. $10 million that stacks onto already massive cap flexibility. $10 million that can turn into real protection for Herbert, or depth that keeps you from scrambling later, or the freedom to attack the market without feeling desperate. And that says a lot about the mindset right now. No attachment to a name. No fear of saying, all right, that wasn't it. The bigger mistake would be hanging on to it out of pride. Harbaugh doesn't build an offensive line on good vibes. He builds it on trust. Guys you can count on when the game tightens up. Guys who don't blink when it's 3rd and long and the entire stadium knows you have to throw. Nobody throws a party when a player gets shown the door, but everyone understands when it's necessary. And when you combine that cap swing with the uncertainty at offensive coordinator, something becomes obvious. The 2026 Chargers offense isn't going to resemble 2025, not even a little. And if you think that's already a lot to juggle, hang on, because the next name being floated would raise the ceiling and the tension in the locker room at the same time. There's a certain kind of rumor that doesn't pop up randomly. It shows up when cap space, need, and relationships all collide. And the name that started circling is Brandon Aiyuk. Just hearing that, half of Bolt fam immediately pictures separation, sharp routes, chunk plays, and Herbert finally cutting it loose without everything feeling so tight. The other half hesitates, thinks about the drama in San Francisco, and wonders if that's even something Harbaugh would entertain. But the context is loud. The Chargers finished the season without a 1,000-yard receiver. Nobody even cracked 800. That's not trivia, that's a diagnosis. They didn't have a true difference maker who tilts coverage. They didn't have the kind of target that makes defenses nervous every snap. And when you look around the receiver market, there aren't many players who bring the full package. Aiyuk does, even with the injury history, even with the questions. And the connective thread here is Mike McDaniel. If he ends up running the offense in LA, he's one of the people who knows Aiyuk best, on and off the field. He saw Aiyuk's early development up close. He knows what he does well. He knows how to feature him. That matters when you're installing a new system and you want at least one weapon who doesn't need a long runway to look comfortable. Don't get it twisted though. This isn't just football. The relationship between Aiyuk and the 49ers has been messy. Commitment questions, rehab noise, guarantees getting voided. Harbaugh doesn't brush that aside. He hates it. And that's what makes the whole idea so fascinating, because if this ever becomes real, it won't be a blank check. It would be a culture test. This is how we do it here line in the sand. Now look at the dominoes on the field. Ladd McConkey working space. Quentin Johnston not having to wear the WR1 label every single week. Trey Harris coming along at the right pace. A veteran like Keenan Allen, who turns 34 in April and is on an expiring deal, acting more like a stabilizer than the entire engine. Suddenly the offense isn't predictable. Suddenly defenses can't just crowd the box and dare Herbert to win with tight window throws all day. Aiyuk is 28. He's healthy. He's already shown he can be elite. The risk is real. But the upside is exactly what this team has been missing. And while people go back and forth on whether that's bold or reckless, don't lose the main point. None of it matters if the defense takes a step back. That's why the Chargers' next move might be the most important one of the entire offseason. Because losing Jesse Minter wasn't just losing a coordinator. It was losing continuity, losing language, losing identity. How the Chargers respond to that tells you how serious they are about building a playoff run that actually lasts. The Aubrey Pleasant interview isn't random. It's not just another name on a list. Pleasant comes from a modern, aggressive school of defense that understands what the NFL looks like right now. The Rams weren't perfect, but they were opportunistic, disciplined, and alive in big moments. Top 10 in points allowed, top 5 in takeaways. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when a system connects with players and the buy-in is real. And here's an underrated detail. Pleasant has history with Michigan. He knows Harbaugh's world. He knows the standard. That lowers the risk. You're not starting from scratch. You're plugging someone into a language that already makes sense inside the building. For a defense that played at an elite level in 2025, that matters a lot. Because the biggest fear isn't dropping to bad, it's sliding into average. And you don't survive in the AFC living in average. Then there's Zach Orr, a name that gets a reaction immediately. Young, respected, and directly tied to the Minter branch of the tree. That matters because continuity isn't just comfort, it's efficiency. Orr might not have stacked sacks in 2025, but sacks without context can lie. What matters is structure, adjustments, third down answers, and how you hold up when the offense hits a rough patch and you're right back out there. The fact the Chargers are talking to these types of names sends a message. This isn't patchwork. This is selection. This is a franchise thinking about how you defend Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow in January. It's not just numbers, it's nerves, it's red zone calls. It's not folding when your offense strings together 3 empty drives and you've got to protect the lead anyway. Harbaugh is heading into year 3, and the margin for excuses is gone. He needs a defensive leader who can hold the standard and handle the heat. Pleasant or aren't desperation swings. They're choices that tell you the Chargers understand exactly how big this moment is. And that's why everything today connects. The McDaniel waiting game, the Becton cap move, the Aiyuk idea being floated, the defensive coordinator search. This isn't chaos, it's a deliberate transition. It's a franchise deciding what it wants to be when January comes back around. So I'll ask you straight, do you trust this aggressive path, or are you changing something right now? Drop your take in the comments. Tap the like button if you're riding with the vision, subscribe if you want daily Chargers coverage, and let's get into it, because Bolt Fam is about to be loud.